Good evening guys, Namaskar, welcome to another video. Well, this week's video is a little bit different. I wanted to try something new with my photography and I wanted to document it, vlog it so that you guys can also learn something. I watched a couple of videos from some other YouTubers. I will link them down below. I'm very thankful for them to share this technique on the web. And I wanted to recreate that, but with a little different intention. Now I have a coin here with me. It's my grandmother's coin and it dates back to 1903. So it's an Indian 1 rupee coin, but it says King Emperor Edward the 7th, I guess. And yeah, it's a very beautiful coin. It's made out of silver and it's 119 years old at this point. And I'm very fascinated by historical things. And this is my personal family's treasure. So I wanted to make a good photograph out of it. So yeah, in this video, I'm going to talk about everything related to the techniques that I am going to use for this image, especially because I don't have a macro lens. I have two lenses here with me. One is my 85mm 1.4 EF glass and the other is my 15 to 35 RF. I'm not sure which is going to focus closer to the coin basically. Now the struggle here is with normal lenses you cannot go very close to them, and I want to create an image that I don't have to crop a lot so that I have some resolution when I use this image after everything. So I want a very good magnification for this coin. For that I'm going to try both lenses, but I think I'm going to use the super resolution technique, which I'm going to talk about in this video. For that, let's set up this strobe, my Godox softbox basically. Alright, so this is my softbox. Now I'm going to take out my flashlight that I'm going to trigger wirelessly as a strobe, which is a very economical method to use proper studio equipment without spending that much money. I might light the coin without the softbox, but I wanted it to be set up just in case. So this is my Godox speed light. It's a manual speed light, so it's not at all fancy. It's very cheap, but it gets the job done. Now you have to be slow with it while you are using it because the recycle time is a little less. This is the trigger. It's an universal trigger, so I can use it with my Canon or Himanshu's Sony or anything like that. It won't be a problem. You just have to make sure they are on the right channels, well, which they are. Okay. So I'm going to start with my 1535. I'm not sure which will work better, so I'll have to try them both because this is my first attempt of macro photography without a macro photography lens. So I'm going to use a white sheet of paper so that I can have a white background behind the coin. So I'm going to use something like that. Let me get it from the store. Let's see what I can find, and then we'll start composing the shot and everything. आ जाओ. Well, it's a little dirty, but I think it can work. I will tape it up so that it doesn't move while I'm taking the pictures. Well, I think this will do because the image is going to be very small anyway. Yeah, I think this section will do just fine. So I'm going to first of all check the focus distance, and then I'll talk about the technique, which is the most important thing for this whole image to work out. All right, we have an image. Let's try with the other lens. So as you can see, this is the image taken with the 85 and this is the image taken with the 15 to 35 at 35 mm. So basically it means that I will have to use my wide angle lens. It's able to take focus a little bit closer. Alright, so I think I'll have to use a technique called super resolution. For this to work, you need to use Photoshop quite a bit. So it's going to be a software related video and technique basically, but you have to make sure that the images you're taking are in the right manner for the software to work properly. So I'm going to talk about the software related things a bit later, but for now I have to take 20 images. The key here is that you have to take these images handheld, and there needs to be a little bit of movement with the hands and with the composition that's going to actually help the final result. And for this technique to work, you have to leave a little bit space for cropping, and that's amazing because I can't go very super close up to the coin anyway. So I do have a lot of space to crop later, because when you align these images there will be a little requirement to crop the image a bit. But we are going to have almost 4 times the resolution. Now my Canon R5 already has 45 megapixels, so when we are done with the image, it's going to have a little bit around 180 megapixels, and I think that will be enough to get a good shot of this coin with extremely amazing detail. Now, since we are making this video in evening and the sun has set down, I'm going to use my strobe light, and it's going to allow me to use an f-stop of at least f9 or f11 with fast enough shutter speeds without increasing my ISO above 100. That's what I'm going to do. Alright, so as you can see, I have set up my tripod at this particular height. It's pointing down and it's at an angle basically. I want some shadows and I want the details of the coin to pop out a bit, so I cannot flash it from right up top. That's why it's at an angle, and I'm going to align the coin so that it's straight. Alright, now I'm not going to move the coin at all, and let's start by taking a sample shot, because I don't know what kind of exposure I'm going to get. But the settings I'm going to begin with is I'm going to set my shutter speed at 1/160th, because that's what my trigger will allow me to go as fast as possible. I'm going to set my f-stop at f11 to start with and my ISO at 100. Now I'm going to change the exposure with the light itself, either by leveling it up or down, or by moving it further or closer. Alright, so let's see if this particular setting is working for the exposure or not. My image stabilization is going to be turned on throughout this whole photo shoot. Now I'm going to fire it as close as possible. I'm going to reposition the light a bit so that my hands don't obstruct the light. Okay, let's try it again. Okay, this time the shadows are not a problem, but the exposure is a little less. So, Himanshu, do we have some more room with the light? Okay. Set it on max brightness. If that doesn't work, then I can stop down my f-stop. That's all I can do. And maybe I can raise my ISO, but that will be the last option, obviously. Let's try once more. This time the light is at full power. And yeah, that's actually good enough. Yeah, so the coin looks beautiful. You can see the exposure is nice. There is a very little shadow happening at the end. Now I would love for the shadow to come in this direction instead of going to the right. So I'm going to reposition the light just a bit. I'm going to pan this softbox just a bit, and I think that will do. Let's take one more shot for the shadow particularly. Let's try this. Let's try this. Yes. Now from this point onwards, I'm going to take 20 shots non-stop. Of course, I'm going to time so that my flash can cope up with it. Other than that, I'm going to take 20 non-stop images that are hopefully sharp, and then we can take them to the computer. So let's go. Let's fire this up for 20 times. I'm going to make sure that the flash fires every time. 3. No, it missed. 4. 10, 16, 17, 20. So the image taking part is done now. Let's transfer these images to the computer. I'm going to organize them in Lightroom first. So let's go over to Lightroom. Alright, so I am in my Lightroom. I have made a collection and I have all my images laid down here. Now the first thing that I have done is some basic corrections. I have turned the image to black and white, obviously because there wasn't any color and I didn't want any rusting to show up in the images. So I made it black and white. I did make some changes in terms of whites and shadows, but nothing else. Apart from that, I just renamed these images, and then I selected all those 20 good shots that were strobed and removed the ones that went black basically because of the misfire of the strobe. Now I have taken these 20 images to Photoshop. Let's go to Photoshop. So in Photoshop, the first thing to do was to make the canvas go bigger by 200%. So you can go to image and then image size, and then selecting percentage over here, you can go 200% on both width and height, which are by default at 100 because the image is at 100% by default. So make it 200% in both places, so the image will be quadrupled basically in all directions proportionately. The image will have 4 times more megapixel than what we began with. And in the resampling, we have to select, instead of automatic, we have to select nearest neighbor. This is what I have learned with the videos that I have watched for this technique basically. With that, we have to select all of these images. Of course, that will take a little bit of time because you are scaling up the canvas. In itself, it is not going to upscale the image. We have to do some things more. You have to select all of these layers, and then you have to go to edit and auto align these images. Now when you press auto align, it will take huge time. I think it took about 20-25 minutes to auto align all of these things, all of these layers. Once that is done, you can check whether these images were auto aligned nicely by Photoshop. In most cases, Photoshop is going to do a very good job. Now, of course, you are going to see that the canvas will have some weird cropping issues. That's why we shot these images a little wider. And of course, you couldn't go closer also in this particular case. You will have to crop the image just a little bit to avoid those edges because we aligned, and now Photoshop is basically targeting the subject of the image in one place so that all of the layers are in right sequence and overlapping correctly, so that now we can play with the opacity a little bit. Now what we have to do is we have 20 images and we have a total of 100% opacity in general to begin with. Now when you divide 20 by 100, we get 5%, right? So what we'll need to do is overlap these images in particular percentages of opacity. In the top, we'll set the opacity to 5%. So image number 20 will have 5% opacity only, and image number 19 will have 10% opacity only. in this manner, when we'll reach to the first image, it will have 100% opacity. Now when we are done with that, we can select all of these layers and we can press right click and hit flatten image, and now you can control and S for saving this image. It will save a TIFF, it will go back to your Lightroom. I also experimented with one more technique called super resolution enhancer. Now that's inbuilt and you don't need 20 images for that. I tried it with one image, the first image in fact, and to do that it's very simple. You can just open the image, you can crop it beforehand or you can crop it later. You can right click on it and go to enhance. When you click on enhance, you are getting two options, raw details and super resolution. Right now we are hoping to do super resolution stuff, so I clicked on super resolution and you can go for enhance. Straight away it will start creating a DNG image, and to my surprise and maybe to your surprise, the results that I have with me here, I have to admit Lightroom did a very good job, and in fact I prefer the Lightroom version over the Photoshop version. So I am going to go with the Lightroom version. All of this went in vain, but I think it's fine. I learned something, I tried something new, and maybe if you have such a still image which does not include a person or a very complex scene, I think if it's an object like this, a product, you can go with Lightroom's smart enhancer super resolution mode, and I think it will do a very good job and you're going to be very happy with it. So in conclusion, I think I even shot some more images, and at last I'm going to use these 4 Lightroom enhanced images, which are also giving me a resolution of about 30 megapixels, and in one case I'm getting a resolution even higher. Let me tell you, I have 2 images which have even higher resolution, 8:6. So I got one image with 50 megapixels, which is amazing. You can see it says 50 million, which means 50 megapixels. And my camera doesn't even have 50 megapixels to begin with. I have 45 megapixels, and even after cropping so much, it's giving me amazing resolution, and I'm really surprised by the sharpness. I can see the texture in the paper, it's amazing, and it was a fun activity to try, and I love these images. These coins are beautiful. I tried this another coin which says King Emperor George the Sixth. It's from 1947, the year India got its independence. It was the last British coin, and it's beautiful. It's still a 1 rupee coin and it's out of silver. It's priceless now. It's amazing. Thank you so much for watching this video. It's a setback that all of that, it didn't work out really well. I could have done with just one image, but it was still a fun exercise. And I'm glad that I shot it with strobe, because the details I got wouldn't have been possible without a strobe light and without being at f11, of course. And being at ISO 100 also helped really a lot in the whole upscaling thing. And it's amazing what Lightroom can do and what AI can do now. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next week with a different video. And till then, you can hit subscribe and like and comments. It really helps the channel a lot. I will see you in the next video. Thank you.